Hey guys, it's Pete from Pete from Anxiety here. Welcome in today's episode. I appreciate y'all being here so much. Let's talk about a few things real quick. The Pete vs. Anxiety Team Anxiety Facebook group. Are you a part of it? You're not? What are you waiting for? The link's down here in the description down below, or go to Facebook and search Pete vs. Anxiety. Then look for the Team Anxiety Team page and join it today. Why not? You can join and help. It'll be great. Yeah, like right now. Hurry up. Stop what you're doing, pause this video, go do it right now. But anyways, let's also talk about the Pete vs. Anxiety YouTube page. If you're here right now, you're probably following it most likely. If not, head on over there, subscribe, be sure to like and comment on the videos and let me know, because all that stuff really helps, guys. I really appreciate it. And help me break the stigma that mental health is talked about enough. But anyways, guys, let's get in today's episode. I'll have a great one. Thank you so much again. And as I always say, don't ask how your day is. Ask how your mental health is today.
Guys, welcome into the exciting episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. For me to say the following, I am so excited to have this person today. My guest today is an MW, NSW, LSCW, is a best-selling author of 12 astrology books and the founder of Deep Soul Divers Astrology. Jesus, I could even talk today. Please welcome Carmen Turner Scott. And by the way, in case all of you that have been watching, she's actually a good friend of our good friend Sherry Ann Boyle, who had been on the show previously too. So we were talking about that for a bit beforehand. But welcome in, Carmen. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Definitely. Carmen actually did my birth chart, so we're going to get into a little bit of that too. And she does a lot of astrology. And for all you guys that have never really dug into this, I think you really need to. This is a very interesting subject because I was not really introduced in it until my wife had started telling me about it. Like, I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't go deep in it like she did. And she's a Scorpio, so like if you look at what the star signs say that their personality traits are, it's very interesting how much it actually aligns.
Yes.
So has astrology always been a passion of yours?
Oh yeah. I started studying it when I was 16, and it was 1993. And what happened was I had a strange experience with a glowing ball of light in my doorway, an orb. And growing up in the Midwest, in the Bible Belt, I wasn't raised to believe in these things, but I was always different. I always was intuitive and would sense things. I had a very vivid imagination. I always had to have a nightlight on. And my mom and dad always said, it's your imagination, go back to bed. When I was a kid, I would wake them up in the night. I would sleepwalk. I was a little bit different. And one night I was in high school and came back from a basketball game. I went to sleep, always had to have my bed facing the door open, a little nightlight. We had a little house. My parents' room was across from the hall. And I saw this orb glowing yellow in my doorway. And I'm like, okay, is this real? I could not scream. I could not move. I couldn't do anything. And I finally yelled out, Mom, and woke her up. When it released me, it was like hours I lay there before I could even yell for her. And she saw it. So she finally saw something that was weird and believed me. And the next day she's like, I don't know what that was. And so I started researching angels and spirit guides, because I was really spiritual. I always loved religion, philosophy, and was interested in, why I'm here. I was always kind of interested in those things, and I was open-minded. But I got my first astrology book when I was 16, and I started teaching myself how to do charts by hand. Because back in those days, there were no computer programs like, astro.com. You can go do everything. It pops it up. You had to draw the wheel. You had to know how to draw the symbols. And it was a lot of work. But I taught myself because I just loved it. And it validated my personality. For the first time, I found, Virgo. I was a worrier. I would obsess on things. I would overanalyze things. I would, I just was a perfectionist. All of those traits were me. And I wanted to help people. I always liked helping people and wanted to be a counselor ever since I took a psychology class in high school. But it all verified why I am the way I am. And I'm like, man, this is intense. This is powerful. And this is an amazing tool of self-awareness. And I want to do this as a social worker and help people in a deeper way. So I started doing charts professionally at 19 in St. Louis, Missouri, and started my own little side, hobby. And I just practiced on people for fun. I didn't used to charge, and I would do charts, and people would share with me how accurate it was. And they would cry. They would share, how did you know this? And I'm like, it's your chart. I'm just interpreting it. It's a science. I'm not, channeling anything. This is not Carmen telling you this. This is the energy of your chart and astrology. And so it became my passion, and I've been doing it ever since I was 19. And I'm going to be 50.
Yeah.
So it's been my life, and I live it. I live astrology. Like when I talk, I'm like, oh, the moon is there, and people are like, so I live this stuff,
Yeah, definitely. No, like I said, she's really big into it. That's what got me into it. And then she did like tarot card readings and things, and
Yeah,
it was accurate. Like it's hard to deny these things when it's so
yes,
close to what you're thinking at the time. And I'm just like,
yeah,
and then someone told me about a birth chart. I was like, they all kept saying it to me. I was like, what? Well, how do I get one of those? I'm kind of curious. And it was Gloria Bettini was one of them that actually brought it up, and we were discussing it. So I sent you the one that I had done, the free one. I sent it to
oh
Gloria, and
yeah, yeah,
Gloria said that the one reading that chart, she said that it was the way our moons aligned. It was something about it's like make good will benefit me in public speaking and things like that too. Which,
oh
here I am. I
cool.
run a podcast now, so
This
I
is
thought it was interesting because I'm looking at it. And I showed it to my wife with the one you sent me, and I was just like, I have no idea what I'm even looking at.
Oh yeah, I'll send you a fun report to read that'll analyze everything for you,
Okay, cool.
way, and I can send you that. But you said your wife's a Scorpio. That makes
Yeah.
sense because Scorpios are one of the most mystical signs. They're very into hidden knowledge and
Hmm.
secrets and astrology and all these things. They're very, very deep people, and they're fascinated by the unknown. So it doesn't surprise me that your wife is a Scorpio and that she's interested in astrology. That's very accurate.
Yeah,
So
she's big in astrology, the crystals and things like that too. She was telling me about those different stones, and I resonate with tiger's eye because it's the first thing
oh
she
yeah,
gave me was a tiger's eye. So I always held it really close, and it
nice.
was it was so interesting like that too. And then she did tarot card readings for me and
Yeah,
stuff like that too. And
yeah.
it was all fascinating because she has all the books that determine what it is. They give you the definition of what the cards are because the placement. I didn't realize the placement even made sense. I was just like, okay, this is more interesting as we go. How are
Yeah.
you reading my thoughts in these cards when I haven't even said anything?
Yeah.
And it's so
It
fascinating.
is.
But then I started digging deeper into astrology stuff, and she
Yeah.
sends me videos and stuff, and I start looking at cancers, and I start looking
Yeah.
at like the different traits that cancers have and things like that. And I thought it
Yeah.
was very interesting because I'm almost alike to a lot of it though. Like it's like it says that we're the kind of people that if you get us upset, that's it. We'll cut you off without thinking twice, and that's how it is with me. Sometimes I'll cut people off,
Yeah.
and you don't get a second chance with me because I just hold grudges like that. Now, is that normal for cancers though?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the reason you do that is unique, though, because you have not only are you a Cancer sun, you have Mars, the planet that cuts things quick,
Yeah.
ends things, conjunct your sun, both in Cancer. What that shows me, my daughter has that Mars conjunct the sun. The sun is where you shine. That's your main personality. And when you have Mars there, it shows me that it makes you very intense. It makes you
Hmm.
very it intensifies your emotional side. And if someone hurts you, you will go into warrior mode. Okay? And in survival mode. And survival mode for Cancer is to put the shell up and block people. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to be around you anymore. You're done.
Yeah. Yep.
That's because you have Mars, the planet of conflict and passion and drive and courage, and it's it's the warrior planet conjunct your main identity, so it gives you a little bit of a more fiery Cancer vibe, because most cancers, they don't do that like that. Now they'll hold grudges, but they won't ever tell you. They
Yeah.
may pretend they're okay because they don't want to be hurt anyone's feelings, but you got Mars there, so you're like, I'm done. Like it helps you, it
Well, it
actually
makes it
helps
makes sense though. I mean, it's
you.
100% true. Everybody that's listening to this, I'm going to tell you right now, this is 100% true. She is spot on. Like that's just how. But it makes sense though because
Yeah.
I didn't realize all the placements because somebody else had mentioned that I have the same moon placement as them. That's how come we get along so well. And it's a good friend of
Uh-huh.
mine. She does the podcast Emotionally Unavailable. I don't know if you ever heard of that one. Melissa.
I was on that recently.
Melissa, yeah, Melissa,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
friend of
she's
mine
a
too.
social worker too. Yeah, yeah. Her and
Yeah,
I were, yeah, she's
yeah,
cool.
she's been
She's
telling
cool.
me because I showed her the original chart. A guy was like, "Hey, yeah, check this out," and
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh my god, that makes sense. Why me and you get along so well." I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about, but okay.
Yeah, she knows astrology because I did her chart and online, and then I was on her show. She knew a little bit about it, so it was cool. And but yeah, you're an Aries moon, and so that's important because you have a water sun,
Yeah,
that's water, which is emotional, focused on relationships, wants to help people,
yeah,
very intuitive, very Cancers are the intuitive. They're nurturing, they're psychic. The moon rules your sign. So the tides of the moon's full moon, new moons, all the moon cycles affect you greatly and affect your emotions and feelings.
Yeah,
So
you know
you,
that that's
little
funny you
bit,
say the moon cycles though, because me and my wife were talking about that. You know, the moon in certain placements, like when it was like I think it was a full moon, it was really affecting me or something
oh
really
yeah,
weird.
oh
But
you
now it
will.
makes sense though.
Oh, the moon is huge for Cancer. My grandmother was a Cancer. She was born July 11, and my husband has a Cancer moon.
Yeah.
So emotionally, he's a Cancer in his emotions in his soul. And so the moon, I always know when there's a full moon, he gets very irritable and he starts he's saying he's just not feeling good. And I said it's because it's a full moon. And I always know every month when the full moon's coming, it really
I'll have
affects
to
him.
keep track of that for you and let you know how that goes when the full
Please
moon comes again
do.
for me. Because I'm
Yeah,
curious now. I'm gonna have to start taking notes of what happens just because I'm so
yeah.
like I said, I'm so fascinated by this stuff. Everybody's been telling me about it. And I'm like, what the heck is a birth chart? Like several people said it to me. Do you know what date your time you're born? I had to reach out to my mom and ask her, like, hey, do you know
I
what
know,
time I
right?
was born?
I know,
And that's a
right?
hard conversation because me and my mom don't have the best relationship, and
Oh, I'm
I
glad
don't
you
know.
asked. Well, you
But
know
it's
what's
like,
interesting? You know what's interesting? You shared something. Um, Whenever Mars is conjunct the sun, especially for a Cancer,
mhm,
because Cancer is associated with the mother figure. So when Mars is there, what that does is it makes a more difficult conflict. There's conflict with the mother sometimes, and it could play out in some different ways. It could be that the mother was very dominant or tried to control you,
mhm, mhm,
and or aggressive or had a temper, and whatever it was, your mother was intense because you got that Mars in Cancer, and Aries moon means your mother. The moon is also your mother figure in the chart. So moon in Aries, I have that. So sometimes the mother is so independent and self-reliant, they're not known to be as nurturing.
yeah,
Like the traditional mother, they're just not like that. And so we have to accept and heal that, because I got the nurturing from my Cancer grandmother, but my mother is very independent, free spirit. And she's like, let's, just get over it. She's not someone to, how do you, I'm sorry, how you feel, like a normal,
yeah.
person. So everyone has their own chart. But you perceive your mother as very strong, but a little bit self-reliant and self-centered sometimes, like it's about her.
Mhm.
That's because your moon's in Aries.
Yeah,
Because
she's
Aries,
a little bit of narcissistic too. Now, mind you, everybody, Carmen doesn't know anything about me to this point. What she just said about my mother is 100% spot on. I just want to let you know how accurate this is for anybody that's watching or listening to this right now. That
yeah,
is spot on. Like this is what I'm talking about when I say this is so fascinating. Is that she doesn't know anything else about me. I haven't really said much,
yeah.
but
I'm
she
just looking
knew.
at the chart. Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm
yeah,
saying though. Like this is so amazingly fascinating to me because it's like I haven't told you anything, and you already
yeah.
know most of this already. So
And what I'm doing is just validating your experience.
yeah,
That's why I love it, because when you do a chart for 1 hour, just me, sharing what I see, just the main energies and my own experience from doing thousands of charts. I mean, I see these patterns play out. So it's really my research too that shows me. I know that I'm an Aries moon. So my
yeah,
emotional nature is like you. We perceive our mothers in a very similar way. And what you just said is spot on about Aries, because Aries key word is I am. I am.
yeah,
It's about their survival. It's about them, everything in their life. And so that is how you perceive your mother. Now, she and other people may not perceive her that way, but you do.
yeah,
Okay. And
yeah,
because this is your personal chart, this is the map of your soul. So, and we experience what we experience, we can't help it how we experience our parents, but the Mars conjunct the sun and Cancer can really make you intense. Like
yeah.
you also can, you're a good researcher. Like you can obsess about things.
Yep.
Like
Yes,
you
I
can go
can.
down rabbit holes with like conspiracy theories and
Yes,
shit.
I
Like
do.
that. Like,
There's a
dude,
few. We won't talk about them, but there's a few little oddball ones I went it down into, you know. But yeah, I do get
yeah.
that way though. I get very curious about things and I'll
Oh
start
yeah.
going into them. Like energy has
Yeah.
really been a big thing ever since I met a person
Yeah.
named Melanie. She is she said she called herself the energy alchemist, and it was just interesting how
Ooh,
she explained to me that I'm very energy sensitive, which
you
makes
are.
sense to me because I could never explain this feeling I always got, you know. And there was another person, Leslie Turner, I talked to as well. She's like, she said the same thing. She said, "Stop calling it weird," is what she kept telling me during the interview,
Yeah.
because I just like I could just feel people's energy. Like I could be around people, I could feel their sense, I could feel their emotions.
Uh-huh.
I'm very big empath, so I can really pick up on things, way
Yeah.
people say things, like the tone and things. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
really a few words out of a conversation, I can almost tell there's something wrong. There's a guy actually that I ran into again. Um, he actually I gave a message to him because he had come to me and told me some things. But it's always weird though. Maybe you can explain this. Is that
Yeah.
when I'm around people, they always want to tell me something like
Yeah.
stuff they would never tell normal people.
Their
Like they come up
problems.
to you and start sharing things to you, and it's just like
Uh-huh.
it's so
Over
interesting because they just
overshare.
feel compelled to tell me things, and I'm just like, okay,
It's your chart, dude. It's your chart because it two things. It's your Cancer
yeah,
because water, Cancer, Scorpio, and are two very, and Pisces. But specifically Cancer it's kind of like highly intuitive because the moon is your ruler. The moon rules the tides of the ocean. The moon, our body's mostly water. So you are very sensitive. I have a friend of mine, he's a Leo rising like you as well, but he's got Cancer. And I knew it about him. I said, you feel energy because he'll say, man, it's tense in the office today. He worked with me. I'm like, that's your Cancer, buddy. I said, you're very sensitive to energy. And he's like, yeah, I just sense what's going on. I said, yeah, that's your Cancer. So I was teaching him about this stuff, and he's like, that's so true. So your Cancer, you feel all the undercurrents because that's what water energy does. But
yeah,
that's not the only reason. It's because you have Scorpio in your chart. Matter of
okay,
fact, that's why you probably married a Scorpio, because you always end up usually marrying or getting in relationships with people that have the sign that your south or north node is in.
okay, that's
And your,
interesting.
your south node is Scorpio. So you know what that means? You've mastered being a Scorpio in past lives. Your soul is a Scorpio. Scorpio energy is death, rebirth, transformation, healing. It's ruled by Pluto. You have Pluto in Scorpio, South Node in Scorpio, and Saturn in Scorpio, all in the third house of communication. What that means is you're going to want to talk about deep things, but the number one thing is you attract people that have pain. You
Yeah.
attract people that want to share their trauma, their secrets, and then you're like, what the heck? Like it happens to me
Yes,
too.
exactly.
You'll be at
That's
the
exactly
grocery
what
store,
happens.
they
That's
come up.
crazy.
They'll come up in the grocery store to Scorpio people, and they'll tell you, my dad just died. It happens to me all the time. I have a lot of Scorpio too. I'm a North Node Scorpio. So I draw Scorpio and Tauruses. You will too, because that's what your soul is used to, is being a Scorpio. So you've already
Yeah.
been psychic and sensitive and perceptive and into astrology. You've already been fascinated with these things, psychology, counseling. Scorpios are the healers. They feel energy. They are good at healing people. So you could feel the heat if you're doing Reiki or pranic healing, these different tools. You could actually really be a good healer. But because it's in the third house, you heal through words.
Yeah.
Talking and writing is where your deep healing can come. Expressing yourself through whatever way, this show, writing books, teaching, you're really good at that. You actually have a talent in that. And research, that's really comes easy for you.
So, question now: the houses. What do they represent? I heard you saying. I know there's 12 astrological houses. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So, what do they represent basically? Because I'm always curious about that.
Yeah, it's so fun. So the way I explain it, guys, is like at the moment, time, place of your birth, when you look up at the earth, all of the planets are in a certain star constellation, which are the 12 signs. So
Yeah.
they're the 12 signs. There's 10 main planets that we look at, okay, in astrology, modern astrology. In the ancient times, before we knew there was a Pluto or Neptune, it wasn't as many, but now we know there's 10. And so we look up at the sky at the moment, time, place of your birth. We take a picture of it and we put it on a piece of paper, and we break it into 12 sections like a pie. And those are areas of the sky, okay, and the energies that are going on up there. And the way we document it is with a wheel, and then we make 12 houses. This is an easy thing to learn, is that each zodiac sign is associated with each house.
Okay.
So Aries starts the zodiac. They start their, that's the spring months. Aries rules the first house. They're the first sign in astrology. The second sign is Taurus. Taurus rules the second house, which is money, finance. Okay. The first house is self, identity, the body, expressing yourself into the world is the first house, your appearance. Second is money, finance, what you value, where you find self-worth. It's a very practical house. It's ruled by Taurus. It's earth. Then third house is ruled by Gemini. Geminis are the communicators. So the third house is siblings, short journeys, like movement around your neighborhood, short journeys, not far away lands. Okay. And that's ninth house. We'll talk about that in a minute. But third house is journalism, radio, podcast, publishing, writing, teaching, talking to people. And you have your South Node there, Pluto and Saturn. So that means that you have a lot of karma with expressing and talking. It may not have been easy for you to do this show. Okay. You had to overcome some cautiousness, some fear, right? Because it's Scorpio is like, they don't want to be vulnerable. So coming out and telling people what you think, that's a big thing for Scorpio. That's good.
Yeah.
And you can heal. You heal through talking and opening up about how you feel. That's how you heal. Really. That's your chart. And you're very good at explaining things in a basic way to people. And you could even be good with your hands. You could build things, be good at, fixing something. Like the hands is a third house thing, Gemini, reflexes, fiddling around with your hands, that can be something. But fourth house is home and family. It's your childhood. We can see, how it was when you were a child, depending on what planets are in that house, if you have any. The home you make with your own partner, your own kids, and then your future home. So it's all about your ancestors and your roots. It's the house of Cancer. So Cancer rules the home and family, the sign Cancer. So it's that fourth house. And they'll be numbered, when you look at the wheel. So it's easy to find. And then the fifth house is ruled by Leo, the fifth sign of the zodiac. And the fifth house is the fun house. It's children, play, creativity, self-expression, pleasure, hobbies, love affairs, gambling, it's anything that brings you joy and that's fun. That's Leo, and that's the fifth house. So you can see a lot about, okay, are you going to have children? Do you want to work with children? Are you afraid of having children? Are you afraid of expressing your creative and artistic gifts? Because a lot of fifth house people have artistic and creative abilities, even if they don't think they do. They're able to be creative, and they need to express who they are, whether it's through dress, whether it's through painting, writing, art, whatever it is, acting, being a lot of Leos are in the entertainment industry. And so that's also a thing with the fifth house. And then sixth house is our health. It's ruled by Virgo. Virgo rules diet, routine, having, getting enough sleep, self-care, eating right, taking care of the physical world, the basic things in day-to-day life that are kind of boring, that people don't like doing, like paying bills, organizing your checkbook. That's sixth house. And it also can show what kind of illnesses you're prone to, where you're vulnerable. So whatever signs on the sixth house cusp, those body areas, astrology can show where you're vulnerable physically. If you're stressed, where it manifests in your body. Astrology and medical astrology is a whole thing. You can spend a lifetime learning it. It's deep. It's really cool. And so sixth house, if you have a planet there or a planet's transiting there, often people tell me I can see they have health issues popping up, because that's what happens with these houses. The houses are where the energy is expressed out into the world.
Oh, okay.
So your sun, we know your sun sign Cancer. We know your moon is in Aries. Well, your sun is in the 11th house. Your moon is in the 9th. So I'll tell you about those houses, and you tell me if you resonate with it.
Okay.
So the 7th house is marriage and partnership. It's the partners that you draw, the business partners as well. That's the 7th house. We call it the descendant. And whatever sign is there is how you will be when you're in an intimate relationship. So it won't be Cancer or Aries. It could be, for you, it's Aquarius. And what that means is that you need freedom and independence in any relationship you're in. You do not want to feel controlled, or that you cannot do what you want to do and be yourself. Like, you need to feel free. That's all.
Yeah.
Like, if someone tries to no, you're not allowed to do that. Oh my gosh, you're a rebel. Okay. You'll rebel in a relationship.
Yep.
Like, You need someone that trusts you fully and isn't jealous and lets you do whatever you want to do and trust you, because Aquarians rebel against tradition. They like non-traditional things. They're like, okay, why do I have to get married? It's just a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Because I can live with someone and that is my partner and I'm
Yeah.
committed. So they tend to resist being put in a box. And you also think outside the box. You're very innovative, and you are, you're eccentric. You like unique, different people. You're attracted to people that are a little bit weird. You
Yep.
are.
Yes, I
That's
am.
Aquarius. You like astrology people. You like tarot readers. That's Aquarius. They're not
Yeah.
traditional. And so relationship partners are going to be very unique and creative and eccentric and different than you. You like that. And so that's how that plays out with the seventh house. It's who you're drawn to. It's how you are in a relationship. And then we have the eighth house, which is ruled by Scorpio energy, and that is the house of death, rebirth, sexuality, trauma, healing, resurrection. I mean, it's other people's money,
Yeah.
inheritance, other people's resources. It's also the house where you benefit through your partner. It's your partner's money. It's your grandparents' money. It's your other people's money and how it benefits you. So if you have planets in the eighth house, which it's one of my favorite houses, I research it a lot. Usually, if your moon is there, your sun is there, or something. Jupiter, there could be inheritance. There can also be debts. You have debts to pay. It could be through your partner. And
Yeah.
so you can predict these things. I mean, it happened to me. I got the moon and Jupiter and Chiron all in the eighth house, and they're all in Aries. And my husband, he helps me a lot financially. I mean, he does. But when his dad died, there was a lot of debts because they couldn't find a will. We had to get a lawyer. We had to do all this stuff. And that's kind of how it played out in my life. So it plays out through your partner and their family too. So eighth house is very deep, and it's about healing. It's really a very resilient house to have planets in, but it can be painful because you have to go through hard times, but it makes you stronger. And then eighth house people are like Scorpio energy. People want to tell them all their problems. So when you have planets in Scorpio, you have planets in the eighth, people are drawn to the energy because it's like your energy, it's not just that you're caring, it's your energy is very a high vibration, like it's intense.
Yeah.
So people are drawn to it like a flame, and they either really want to tell you things or they're afraid of you. They resist you, and they
Speaking on that, point
or
really
hate you.
fast.
They're going to love you or hate you, Pete.
Speaking on that point of being scared to tell me something, that person I told you that came to visit again, I hadn't seen in a minute. He said he was afraid to come see me because he didn't want to tell me what he was thinking. And he
Yeah.
told me anyways, but maybe that would make sense though, what you
Yes.
just said,
Yes.
because that would explain why he was afraid to come talk to me, because he's just so
Yes.
compelled to tell me things, and he had told me what the situation was now versus what it was before, when I just asked him, hey man, are you okay? And I could tell something was wrong with him.
Yeah.
He had lost a friend, unfortunately, to a shooting incident the
Oh,
first time we had seen each other.
oh
And I
man.
saw him again recently, a couple days ago. And it was funny. He was really shaken up and he was like, yeah, I didn't want to come see you because I didn't want to tell you what's going on. It was so weird when he made that statement. But what you just said makes all this sense now, why he was avoiding me, because he
Yeah.
was like, I just feel like I have to tell this guy everything because I'm drawn to this. And it makes all the sense in the world. It's just that statement just resonated with me. I was like, that makes sense why he said that now.
Yeah. There's something about it's eighth house Scorpio energy. It's Cancer. It's water.
Yeah.
And I had the same thing. People, and then I realized sometimes they feel uncomfortable and vulnerable after they overshare with us. And then they're like, oh man, I can't believe I told them that, because they can't help themselves, because we draw them in and they want to unload on us. So
Yeah.
we also have to be careful, because that's being an empath,
Yeah.
to have boundaries to protect your own energy, because we'll get burned out real quick being around people, because we absorb all their thoughts, their emotions, their energy, and then we're drained. So we have to really have time alone to recover and to recoup our energy. And that's really important for Cancer, sun sign, and all that Scorpio you have. I'm the same way. I got to have my alone time. I got my own
Yeah.
little room here. I come in with my dog. My husband's out there. I got to have my space to just recharge. And I don't really like being around big groups because, empaths, we feel everything. So we do better one-on-one or small groups. And,
I
and,
agree.
and as a cancers, are often homebodies. They like
Hmm.
to be home. They love to work from home. They love to be home. That's their castle, is their house. And they love to entertain, cook, clean, do everything in their home. They love it. Redecorate it, and they love it. But yeah, eighth house is death, rebirth, all that. So then ninth house is travel. It's long distant foreign travel. It's religion, it's philosophy, it's higher learning, it's going, spending years in college, learn these different things. It's researching religion, and it's the house of faith, hope, optimism, adventure. It's the house ruled by Sagittarius, the sign Sagittarius. So all the personality traits of each sign, as you can see, are the descriptions of the house areas.
Yeah.
That's how it works. It's all connected. And then the 10th house cusp is the midheaven. It's the top of the chart, and we call it the MC. That's your career house.
Yeah.
That's what kind of career you're going to be drawn to. What sign is on that house is important. That's the kind of career fields or the kind of work you're going to want. But then we got to look at what planets are in the 10th house, because those planets can also affect that area of life. It can make it easier or it can make it a little bit harder, knowing what you want to do, or it can give you, different blessings, through career work. But it'll show you what kind of careers you're mostly probably going to be drawn to. For me, I have Gemini on the 10th house. So I always had two jobs. Gemini's the twin. They need variety. They get bored easy.
Yeah.
They get restless. Once I learn a job, I'm bored. I'm ready. I need some challenge. And so I've always done the astrology business, the teaching, writing books, and then my normal practical job. Yeah, I did it for 25
Yeah,
years.
see, I do that now too. I work
Yeah,
full time and I do this podcast full time as well. It's something I've always
nice.
wanted to do. I've always
Yeah,
been drawn to it. I don't know what it was. Ever since I heard a podcast, I was like, man, I really want to do it. I kept saying that to myself. And I kept telling that
yeah,
to a friend until he was like, hey, listen, there's this great program you use as Spotify offers when I did my first
yeah,
podcast, which was called Pete's Corner Store. And it was just like at the first 12 episodes was me talking about just experience of things I've gone through
yeah,
and crazy shit that has just happened to me. And then the second season, I brought in a friend to do some co-hosting with, and it turned into a complete disaster. So like,
yeah,
I don't when people say co-host to me, I get real nervous and like it's just
yeah,
ugh. Because
yeah,
I go back to that flashbacks of how well it didn't work out. But I don't think it's bad having a co-host. I think you just have to find somebody that works well with what you're trying to do. And then when we got to the third season, it got even worse because we brought in another person, to bring
wow,
another voice into the party, and then it just got out of hand because
yeah,
I was so driven to do it, but then they didn't want to, they weren't putting any input into it. So I just said, okay, I'm cutting it off.
yeah,
I'm going to sit down, take a month and rethink what I want to do for my new subject. And
yeah,
then this one just hit me. It's just like, Pete versus anxiety, because I battle my anxiety every day.
yeah,
And when I started it, I was starting to do therapy, to start
yeah,
trying to figure out where I'm having problems and where to get to the root of these issues.
yeah.
And as I go, it's just been like a healing journey since the beginning. So, and from the
Awesome.
beginning to now, it has been an interesting journey. And
That's
like I
awesome.
said, when I got to Melanie's episode is when it really opened up for me because I started explaining a lot of stuff about myself, energy
Yeah,
sensitive, all these
yeah,
other things that I didn't know. And then it kept drawing me. And then the universe kept putting people in it. And then I met Sherry Ann and everybody else, just kept coming in.
yeah,
Had something to do with spirituality. And another person had seen my birth chart, the other one I sent over to somebody, I showed it to her and she said the same thing.
yeah,
You'll have something to do with spirituality or you're interested in spirituality. Something with spirituality is going to come up for you,
yeah,
but I don't
yeah,
know how, but it's just there, kind of thing. And it's like, it makes sense because a lot of people I talk to
yeah,
lately have been spiritual people, and
absolutely.
it's been so interesting, and
Yeah,
it's fascinating to me because now it makes sense because a lot of stuff starts making sense to me.
yeah,
And I'm kind of interested. It's funny though too that once again I didn't tell you this, but I am interested. I was thinking about getting into energy healing myself, honestly, because I'm
yes,
so fascinated by it.
yes.
And then you said it, and I'm just like,
You have that ability because you got a South Node Scorpio and Pluto in Scorpio, which makes you very healing, a healing, powerful energy. Scorpios are the power sign.
yeah,
They're the healer. They're deep, They're transformative. They change and go through. They adapt throughout their lives. They're able to handle a lot of things. Scorpios are very, very intense, powerful people, but they're able to adapt to change. And so, in past lives, what has happened is you were a Scorpio, which means that you have these patterns of you feel like you are having to survive on your own. You kind of, even if you had a family and parents, a lot of people with your nodes tell me they feel like they can't rely and trust
Mhm.
other people to help them. You have to survive and take care of your own self. And so in past lives, you were in a survival mode where you were having crisis intervention all the time. There was always crisis around you. And so you kind of you can start living in that fight or flight mode, that trauma mode of crisis, and react, act, you know what I mean? And it's because you were having to survive. It's
Yeah.
like if you're living in the freaking on Survivor, the show, you're having to find food and, all this stuff. So your soul remembers not being able to be comfortable. There was always crisis, always change, always drama, intensity going on around you. And you're used to that. In this life, you're meant to find stability and
Yeah.
comfort and groundedness. Taurus, you're meant to find it's okay to have money and possessions. It's okay not to change things the moment it starts feeling uncomfortable. Like you're meant to get comfortable being patient and solid and allowing yourself to enjoy the basics of life and having peace and harmony. You don't need conflict anymore. You've already been there, done that. And so as you get older, you start moving into the North Node. That's your soul mission this lifetime, is to be a Taurus and to do it in the ninth house. And guess what the ninth house is? Spirituality,
Yeah.
religion, philosophy, all these topics. Your soul mission's in that house. You're meant to be learning these things, talking about these things. So you're doing your soul mission. It's cool how it plays out.
I'm completely blown away by this conversation so far. Just like how
So
accurate it is just crazy though.
I know, right? This is
It's
why
just
I
so
love it.
fascinating to me. Like, wow.
I
Like,
know.
I don't even know what to say because I was
I
thinking that
know.
the whole time. I've been thinking about it too. I was
Yeah.
like, man, I should
Yeah.
look and get into doing some kind of energy healing type thing because it's just so
Yeah.
fascinating to me. What if I start doing
Yeah.
something like that? And then somebody else said I had a passion for public speaking, according to the other chart that we were looking at.
You have that. You're a good teacher. You have the nodes of ninth and third house are the teacher. The teacher. You're able to express yourself and talk about things in a way that people understand it.
Yeah.
And you've done that. Now, this lifetime, you're meant to go a little deeper in your
Hmm.
studies, take classes, learn things, get certifications. You're meant to do that. That's ninth house, higher learning, getting those, go to Reiki, get a certificate in energy
Yeah,
healing.
see, I was thinking about the same thing too when you said that. I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Like,
Yeah,
I'm thinking about how to get to that path, and I do have a bunch of people I can ask, and I can ask you too as well about how to
yeah,
get to that point, obviously.
sure.
So, but this is so fascinating. Like this is like I'm telling you, as soon as I remembered that this was the conversation we were gonna have, I was like, yes, let's
Yeah,
go. I am so excited about this because I'm so
yeah.
fascinated to know what all this meant.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Pete, you got, we were talking about the 10th house and I'll talk about the 11th and 12th too, so everybody knows. But the 10th house, you have Taurus on the 10th house cusp,
yeah,
and your North Node is conjunct your midheaven in Taurus.
yeah,
And so what that means is that you need to be using your hands, okay? You need to be connecting to your senses. Taurus rules sight, smell, taste, touch, sensation. So, massage therapy, energy healing, this is a Taurus thing.
yeah,
Calming music, using music, singing bowls or chants, whatever, when you're doing healing. Music can be very healing in your career too. The
hmm,
thing with Taurus is they like to make money because money gives stability.
yeah,
So it's hard for them to give up a normal practical job to do something that's very different or unmade. But you can do what I did. I'm I'm a South Node Taurus, North Node Scorpio. You and my nodes are flip. So what I'm learning this life, you've already mastered, and what
yeah,
I learned, now you're learning what I had to learn. So we have the nodes of change. The Scorpio Taurus nodes are the nodes of the money nodes, we'll always have what we need, even though we worry about
Yeah.
not having security. I can tell you this, we will always have what we need with our nodes. They're the money nodes. That's our blessing. But we have to get out and we have to change how we do things. So we both
Hmm.
are, it's the nodes of changing our lives. When we're stagnant or we're not letting ourselves heal something, we're forced to. The universe forces us to. So we have to release the past and heal, forgive, and let go. Letting go. These are the nodes of letting go of things that are hurting us,
Yeah.
letting go of people, memories, the past. We are so connected to the past. We have to be letting that shit go because we can't change what happened.
Yeah.
And it's like forgiving people is our big thing because when we forgive for ourselves, it's not a weakness to forgive. It makes us heal, and we can avoid getting sick if we let it go. But it takes some time with,
Yeah.
it's a lesson, but doing something with your hands and also is very good for you. And you benefit through female energy in your work, connecting to Venus and talking and having friends that are females can help you in your career too,
You
which
see,
makes
that's
sense.
that would make a lot of sense though, because I do have more female friends than male friends. I make very few, but the inner circle males are very, very limited.
Yes,
You have to
that's
really give me a good reason to let you be in the inner circle of the
yeah,
orbit of Pete, because like there's very few that have made it there and a
yeah,
lot that have been kicked out of there because of some
yeah,
reason. I find out something and
yeah,
I'm just like, deuces, you gotta go. So
yeah,
I have very limited male friends. I have maybe 3 or 4 at least, only male friends that I keep very close to the heart. Other than that, the rest of them get pushed away or they're
yeah,
just not there. They don't like my brand. But I have a lot of female friends that I have, like Melissa and
yeah,
I talk all the time. Me and my
absolutely.
friend Catherine talk as well. Things like that. And I always thought it was interesting how I have more female friends than male friends. But now it makes sense though, if the way the placements are, it,
Yeah,
it extends it all though. It makes all the sense because like I said, I have I connect with females, but it's not like not in like a like a sexual way kind of. It's
no,
like friendly way. You know what I'm saying? Like if anybody
yes,
starts taking that the wrong direction, it's more that they're more friends than anything. I don't see them as anything other than a friend or a
exactly.
source or something I need. Hey, listen,
Yes,
man, I got a question for things like that too. Because
yes.
that's everybody's first reactions. Oh no, well you're trying to sleep with them. No,
No,
dude. No,
no,
it's not like that. We're adults. We don't got time for this
yes.
crap. It's okay to
It's
have female
yeah,
friends and
it's Venus.
stuff like that.
It's your Venus and Gemini. It's Gemini's love to connect and socialize and have friends. And
Yep.
Gemini, Venus is female.
I'll have to tell Melissa about that part because she's like she always calls me the master networker because I connect
Oh,
people all the time and that's really what I'm
yes.
good at. And she's like, "Oh
Yeah.
God, here goes the master networker again. He's working at it."
That is your South Node in the third house. It's Gemini house, connecting people, learning about people,
Hmm.
spreading knowledge. And it's also your Sun and Mars are in the 11th house, which is the next one. Guess what? It's the house of social connections.
Oh, makes sense
Your
then.
main identity is there, and Mars, which is your drive, your passion. And so it's the house of Aquarius. Aquarius rules it. So it's about innovation, groups, being a part of a group, social connections, a lot of acquaintances. You have a lot of acquaintances, and it's a house of friendship. And that's why you're friends with everybody, but because it's Cancer Sun and Cancer's on that house, it tends to be more female friends.
Yeah.
And same with your Venus and Gemini in the 10th house. In your work, you benefit through connections with females and female friends and female guests and etc. That's just how it is. And then you married a Scorpio, which is another water sign. Cancer and Scorpio are a very good match, very
Yeah.
compatible. So you're drawn to the water and the that nurturing kind of vibe. That's what you are used to because you are Cancer.
Yeah.
Cancers have to learn to nurture themselves too, though, because you're really good at helping everybody else. But you have to be able to take care of you too, and self care, and not neglect your own self. You know what I mean?
So I have a question for you. Maybe you can make sense of this.
Sure.
When we were talking about letting things go, I think the hardest thing to let go is the thing with my mom. It's like I don't know what it is. It always hooks me that
Yeah.
it's the hardest thing to let go because I know I'm not going to get her to ever say where she was wrong. She
Yeah.
never do it. She's just that type
No.
of person.
I
So
know.
why is that though? Is that somewhere on the chart that says why I do that kind of thing?
Yeah. See, we pick our parents. And so your soul wanted to learn something that had to do with nurturing. And I think it plays out in that past life where the survival thing, where you end up in a family where that same pattern plays out, where you're on your own, like
Yeah.
you don't feel like you have a mother or dad. So I'm curious about your relationship with him, because
We
yeah,
have a very it's interesting. Sometimes, he wasn't around a lot when we were kids. He worked a lot at night.
yeah,
Now we still have a really interesting relationship. We don't really
yeah,
talk as much. Like my wife always thought it was really weird how we don't ever really say much. Like when we're around each other, we really don't conversate as much. Now it's a little different though because he's more spiritual now. I
okay,
think I think a lot of his thing was, there's some things he revealed to us that make a lot of sense why he was so closed off though.
yeah. He
But
had
he
his
was
own family stuff. Yeah,
he had a lot more than just that too. His dad was like a sadist, is what my stepmom has referred to him as, and things like that.
He was abusive. He was abused,
He
probably.
he was he was an interesting guy in general. But my dad himself, though, he had told us he used to work for a government organization, which
Yeah,
he'd always tell these weird stories to me about, like, oh hey,
yeah,
remember your kids when people tried to shoot the house up or they blew up the house next door to us? I'm like,
yeah.
the fuck are we talking about? What are you talking about, dude? Like he just randomly tell me just like these weird stories, and I'm like, I never realized what it was. And then he told my brother brought his fiance to
Yeah.
visit. We've never met her before. She came, and he told her what organization he used to work for, and she looked around the room at all of us and goes, "He's joking, right?" We go, "No, he's serious. He's dead serious." And it makes sense though because he was so closed off to us.
Sure.
And he was never when we were kids, he was real loving. Then after that, he went through his own problems and things. He had a lot
Yeah.
of issues going on with himself. He's
Yeah.
battled brain tumors and things like that. And the
Oh,
guy's still standing regardless.
dang,
Like
man.
he's been through a lot of shit, and this guy is still
Yeah.
going. I'm surprised he's been
Yeah.
this far. But then he also had this condition where his brain was elapsing time so fast, like time wouldn't exist for him.
Oh,
Like
wow.
like he disappear like from a certain point to a certain point of time. He would not have any idea what he was doing. And my mom was clocking his mileage on his car and things
Wow.
like that. But he's always like when we were kids, he was always really like he was the one like you knew when you were in deep shit. And depending on how he said what he said to you, if he was yelling, he was just mad.
Yeah.
You come home, he's quiet, he's sitting at that table. Woo, you better believe you're on DEFCON 6, man. You're about to
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
whooping. And my dad, and mind you, my dad wasn't really abusive as much. He would discipline you enough to let you
Yeah.
know not to do something again, and after that, he was done. He,
Was he abused?
I think he probably was. From the
Yeah.
stories my mom told me, that
Yeah.
my grandfather did some really weird shit to him
Yeah.
and things
Yeah.
like that too. He doesn't really talk too much about it. He did tell me though when we went to a trip to Chicago together
Yeah.
that he had considered suicide once or twice. He was hinting at it, but he didn't say it. But he
Yeah.
had the ideation because we were talking about something else and he
Yeah.
brought it up and was saying some. So it's been really weird the last few years with him because he's been really different than when he was like when we were kids. Like he says, "I love you" more to us now, and it
That's
just throws
cool.
me off and stuff because it's just
Yeah,
like,
when he's older.
who the hell
Yeah.
is this guy now? Where did this guy come from? Like he had some kind of spiritual awakening of some
Yeah.
sort where he had told somebody his sins, confessed to somebody. And this is a funny story. He
Wow.
told the guy, this guy's response was, "Okay, well, I can't help you anymore, man. I don't want anything to do." Whatever he told that guy scared him so much that the guy was like, "Yep, I want nothing to do." And everybody in the church was acting weird towards him too. Because he's like, I always sign up for something and they never call me. So whatever that vibe he gave off to that poor guy must have told somebody what it got said or something. But they
Oh,
were
man.
like, and he's like, I can't figure out why it is. I sign up for all these things. I want to help out, do more. And then they say nothing to me. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
what did you tell the guy? He goes, well, I just confessed, my sins of things. I'm like, dude, you
Oh,
had to do something to turn him whiter than Casper. What do you mean, man?
oh
Like, you
my
scared the hell of
gosh.
that poor guy.
Oh my gosh.
But yet, even now, we have a real strange relationship. Like he'll
Yeah.
call and start like yelling and screaming about some things sometimes, and
Yeah.
we'll get into it all the time. But then we're okay.
Yeah.
And, I don't spend a lot of time around that big family person because
Yeah.
like the only person I'm close to is my brother, and
Yeah.
he's a Cancer as well because he's
Oh,
July 18th.
okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Me and him get along real well. My brother and I, my younger brother and I don't because he's in September and he was. I know he's like September 15th, I believe. I know my dad's in September as well. If
Okay.
you ask him, he has two different birthdays depending on what he
Sure.
says. The 4th
Sure.
or the 5th, whichever when he feels like claiming that year.
That's
So,
cool. So
but
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting though.
yeah, the houses, I mean, the 11th is groups, friendship. That makes sense. You know, you're a social networker, like love to connect with people, learn things, be a part of a community of people with similar interests. And that makes sense. And then the 12th house is the last house. It's the house of spirituality,
Hmm.
cosmic consciousness, meditation, escapism, addiction, oneness with God. You know, it's this Pisces rules that the 12th. So it's about mysticism and magical things, right? Idealism, imagination, creativity. So 12th house planets are also about secrets. The 12th house is about secrets that are hidden from us. And it's similar to the eighth house. It's also eighth house is also secrets. And it's a different kind of energy though. Scorpio secrets and Pisces secrets are different.
Yeah.
Uh, so those are the 12 houses,
So
and
what's the difference between the two? Those you say there's a difference between them. So what's the
yeah,
difference? So just an example.
yeah,
Just give us an idea
yeah,
what that difference would
yeah.
be.
So people that have planets in the eighth house or a lot of Scorpio energy, they people try to hide things from them, but they zone in and see the truth. They
Yeah.
shine a light on all the taboo hidden things that people are trying to hide from them, the secrets, the family secrets. And they're
Yeah.
like, Mom, I know that Uncle Bob is having an affair on my aunt, or I know that Uncle Bob is a predator or whatever. And
Yeah.
like the family doesn't want anyone to, oh, we don't talk about that, but the eighth house person notices the secrets and they expose them, where 12th house people hide and elude them. They don't see the secrets, and the 12th house people don't see it. They're not even aware. And some of them like maybe adopted and they never knew it, and it was hidden from them. This is the kind of thing I see with
Yeah.
clients that have 12th house plans. There's a lot of secrets, or their father was an alcoholic and they never even knew it. They knew something was off, but they never
Yeah.
realized. It was like a fog and illusion around things. And that's 12th house. It's more elusive. It's like otherworldly. It's hard to see what's going on. It's Pisces, energy, idealistic, sees the good in everything, where eighth house is Scorpio. They see the truth and they don't like fakeness, and they're deep. So it's a little bit of a different thing, but they both real secrets,
Yeah,
hidden
no,
things.
I see where I relate in the 8th house though, because I'm like that though. I can
Yeah,
usually read through bullshit a lot of
that's
times,
your Scorpio. That's because you got a
and
lot of
and
Scorpio.
my Scorpio wife told me the same thing. If I
Yeah,
got into this space I'm in now, she said that was the
yeah,
one thing she did hammer home is
yeah,
authenticity. She's like, if you're gonna do this, you need to be authentic. And she was on
yeah,
me early on, like, hey, you need to be authentic. And she kept
yeah,
telling me that. And then I just really had to self reflect about that whole thing because
yeah,
I was like, yeah, she keeps telling me this for a reason. And she's like, listen, if you're going to get into this space, mental health
yeah.
itself, you need to be careful because you got to be authentic. Anytime I do something stupid or I say
Sure.
something, she's like, you got to think about your branding too. Like, you have to
Yeah,
remember when you're online or your Pete versus
yeah,
anxiety account, you
yeah,
can't act the same that Pete does when he's hanging out with his buddies. You have
yeah,
to keep it strictly focused on what you're doing.
yeah,
And I noticed that though when I
yeah.
started focusing more about it, keeping the same message, that my growth was a lot bigger. Though,
Sure.
take TikTok for example. It's very political on there with people, but I
Yeah,
noticed that my as long as I kept with the same consistent message of what I
yeah,
was doing, it got better. But then I would be live with some people, we talk about random things, and it just wouldn't go so well. And she'd be like, "Listen, you can't be doing that." Because you have to think about your brand name, and you're got to keep it just strictly mental in that account, and anything else you want to do is something separate or whatever. So, and things like
yeah.
that too. So, but as we're going to go and wrap up this episode of Pete versus Anxiety. Carmen, thanks so much for coming. I appreciate it. Do you want to give me a quick plug where they can find
Yeah,
you?
yeah,
I'll have all your socials and listed in the video below.
yeah. Yeah, you can my new book, Your Astrological Energy, it's out there for
Oh
pre-order.
yeah,
Love you to grab it. It's a basic guide. You don't need to know anything about astrology to benefit. You just need to know how to get a free birth chart so you can look up all your stuff and I'll tell you what it all means. And you can find me on carmenturnershot.com or Facebook, Deep Soul Divers Astrology with Carmen Turner Shot. And I'm on Instagram, Carmen Turner Shot author, and I have a YouTube channel, Carmen Turner Shot, and would love for you to follow me, subscribe, and love to hear from you. I hope you want to learn more about astrology,
definitely do.
and I offer consults and classes and things like that. You can find that on my website. So thanks for having me. This is
Definitely, I
wonderful.
appreciate it so much. Like I said, tell Sherry Ann I said hello.
I
And
will.
everybody, thank you for being here today. I appreciate y'all hanging out with us, guys. This is going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You guys know where to find me. I'm X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to iHeartRadio. And as we say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you could do can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, signing out saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental